Joining me now is Democratic Congressman from Washington, Adam Smith, who serves as the ranking member on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, welcome. Thank you for being here. I mean, people are very frustrated. They've seen this movie before. Something feels different this time in terms of the longevity and the expectation that this might not be resolved anytime soon. Today, Trump called Democrats obstructionists at a luncheon with Republican senators on the Rose Garden patio. He has given conditions about meeting if the government reopens first. What's your response?
Well, I mean, first of all, how can we obstruct a group of people who won't talk to us, won't negotiate? We've had shutdowns before. I've been there for many of them. Congress always stayed open. The House always continued to work. It was particularly important to work when we couldn't agree on extending the budget. That was the time you need to negotiate. You needed to talk. What the Republicans are saying is, no, you have to accept our budget, period. You know, we're not going to negotiate with you. Meanwhile, on November 1st, November 4th is election day, November 1st, healthcare costs are going to go through the ceiling. And we, as Democrats, said we need to do something about that. And said, we'll talk about it on November 21st, after it all happens. And they will not negotiate, even as millions of people are going to see their healthcare go up. And for Speaker Johnson to shut down the United States House of Representatives, to refuse to appoint the member of Congress elected from Arizona, I mean, this is obstruction of democracy. Democracy is we get together and we negotiate. But also, in addition to the health care problem, Donald Trump, as Brandon just mentioned, had been doing this long before October 1st, long before the shutdown. DOJ had fired hundreds of thousands of employees, frozen hundreds of billions of dollars in programs illegally. Disrupted business all over the place. And that is another issue that we Democrats want to see addressed. What Republicans want is they want us to simply vote to continue Donald Trump's budget and Donald Trump's government. And we got a whole series of very legitimate objectives. Now, if they want our votes, come talk. Let's negotiate. Otherwise, they ought to just do it with Republican votes.
Healthcare, very significant, but one of many issues facing constituents. And I'm curious, as the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, how is this shutdown directly impacting your ability to investigate, have hearings, find out information about areas that are even outside of that healthcare realm? Well,
with Congress not in session, we're not meeting as a committee. We're not doing oversight. But keep in mind, the Trump administration and the Secretary of Defense, Secretary Hegseth, and this DOD have utterly frozen out Congress. They are not being transparent. They are not communicating with us, certainly about the strikes that are going on off the coast of Venezuela. They have basically frozen Congress out. Look, this whole thing.
And you can't have these hearings then. You've asked for hearings about what's going on in the Caribbean, these strikes.
We can't have hearings when we're not in session, but they weren't even having the hearings before that to honestly do oversight. And, of course, Donald Trump fired all the inspector generals, all the judge advocate generals, all the ethics people who were supposed to do oversight. I want the American people to understand there's 1,000 issues here, but it all comes back to one thing. Donald Trump wants to consolidate the power in his hands. And he wants to undermine every other institution. He wants to undermine Congress. He wants to undermine the media. As we've seen with some of the lawsuits, the Pentagon has now kicked the media out unless they are allowed to pre-approve the stories that the media writes about the Pentagon. Are we living in North Korea? So this is about the consolidation of power. And the shutdown fight, yes, it is about health care. It is about the millions of people who are going to lose their health care and see their costs go up. But it is also about democracy. It is about not allowing President Trump to disobey the law, consolidate power, and ignore Congress, shut down the media, use the Justice Department to persecute his personal enemies. We need a government that lives up to the Constitution, is responsible to the American people, and at an absolute minimum, we ought to be able to talk about it. Trump and Johnson say, no, we're going home. You have to do what we say. We're not going to talk to you. As I've joked, Trump will negotiate with Hamas, but he won't negotiate with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. It is a challenge to the fundamentals of democracy in this country.
And the collateral damage, the American people.
Yeah, I want to be clear on that. Look, the impacts of this shutdown are devastating. So why won't Donald Trump negotiate with us? Why won't Mike Johnson bring the Congress back into session and negotiate with us to open up the government and fix this problem instead of saying, no, you have to vote for my autocratic government or I'm not going to talk to you. That's not the way this process is supposed to work.
Congressman Adam Smith, thank you for joining.
Thanks. Appreciate the chance.